Hello everyone and welcome to the FPL Duo. We are here to react to obviously Gameweek 17 and looking ahead to obviously Gameweek 18 as well. Obviously before we get into this video guys, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe for more and leave a comment down below if you wish. Now Huss is unable to join us for this Kneejerk reaction due to family commitments, so he'll be back midweek around potentially Thursday. Well, obviously after Christmas now, when we obviously next stream for the deadline, as it's near. Obviously, this is the last time of football before obviously Christmas Day. But yeah, again, this week has been horrible. At least I could say it's been terrible game week. But yeah, let's discuss. Obviously, let's firstly discuss Huss's team first, and then I'll move on to mine afterwards. But obviously, starting goal for him, he has a Raya. Obviously, gets the 3 points. Arsenal won massively, 5-1 against Crystal Palace. Arguably, you could say that score was a bit screwed. If Crystal Palace managed to finish a few of their chances, then the score I think would have been much different than 5-1 in that respect. It was just the missed chances that Crystal Palace had, and obviously Arsenal equalised on that by the 5 they did score against them. So yeah, end result was 5-1. Obviously no clean sheet for Raya, as it was wiped by that goal scored by Sarr. Moving on to the defence, so a little bit of mixed fortune for us as team. So obviously Robinson gets his clean sheet in that 0-0 draw against Southampton, which is nice. Robinson was one of the most transferred in player, followed by Ahmad obviously, and the most transferred in, so that did pay off against Southampton in that 0-0. Moving on to Trent, he does go away with 4 points. He did manage to get one of the assists in that crazy match against Spurs, which end result was 6-3, which I can't believe. I never expected that many goals to appear in that London derby, but it was an eventful one to watch. Very nice, enjoyable match for this week. And he comes away with obviously 4 points. It was a nice assist, a classic Trent cross, and a lovely header from, I believe, Luis Diaz as well. Moving on to the third defender, and that is Gabriel, who also scores 4 points. Now, I'm not actually sure what he got for the free. Oh, he actually got an assist as well. He got a yellow card at the same time, though, which obviously was a point taken off from him. But yeah, 4 points for Gabriel too. That sort of mitigates the clean sheet quite for Arsenal, which is, I guess, still a reward. So pretty much all returns on the defence, on the goalkeeper. Moving on to the midfield. So very quiet in terms of midfield. Enzo with 3 points, only gets the clean sheet point. And again, Everton have held off another big team like Chelsea, which is very important in terms of that title race now, because especially with Liverpool winning against Spurs today and Chelsea drawing against Everton today, that gap widens between Chelsea and Liverpool now. But it was incredible how Everton have stopped Arsenal, have now stopped Chelsea in their obviously strides to chase Liverpool down. So Everton are a very interesting team to play against at the moment in terms of clean sheets. I believe that's either 8 or 9 now. So I think they've got the most clean sheets in the league thus far this season, which is you wouldn't have thought Everton would have that many clean sheets at this current moment in time, but it's incredible how they're pulling it off. Moving on to obviously Palmer. Again, obviously his teammate alongside Enzo, 3 points as well, only getting a clean sheet point. No goals were scored in that game. So let's move on to Saka, which is a massive talking point. Obviously, he came off injury. He was seen walking off in crutches, which didn't look good either. And it is down to a hamstring injury. Whether how serious it is, we do not know yet. We'll obviously find that out later down the line. But it's a massive blow for Arsenal to lose an important player like Saka at this stage of the season. Obviously, he only played 23 minutes before he came off, struggling. So he was potentially going to be the most transferred up player for next game week due to Obviously, we don't know the severity, but he will be out for at least a couple of weeks at minimum if it isn't serious. Now, finally, moving on to the big player of the game, Salah, with 42 points. And this was incredible watching this because obviously the captaincy is over Salah, and yeah, it's a massive score. I believe that's 3 assists, 2 goals for Salah. He's also broken 2 records in the Premier League at the same time as doing it, and yeah, it's unreal how well Salah is doing. He seems to get better every season for Liverpool, and that's 15 goals and 11 assists, 2-digit statistics at game week 17 already. And yeah, it seems like Salah is the most reliable FPL asset by far in comparison to anyone in any position so far this season. That's another double haul for him to add to the other double hauls he's currently had this season, which is stacking up quite nicely. 174 plus points for him now. And yeah, the captaincy did in fact pay off. He wrapped up most of the game week points, I think, for most of our teams if you did captain him. But again, how entertaining match, 6-3 in the end. I couldn't believe how I never predicted that scoreline in that London derby, being that 9 goals scored in it. But moving on to the front three, obviously Cunha, who was the controversial player of this week due to his upcoming FA suspension, possibly, or paying a fee, whichever it's going to be. He did start this week, and I think for those owners who kept faith in him, obviously he did return with a goal. And Wolves went on to win 3-0 in the end as well, which you would say with the new manager bounce, obviously the new manager effect has come into clutch, obviously for Wolves winning. And obviously Cunha was one of the goal scorers in that, with a bonus 3 on top of it, with 9 points. Nothing much from Jackson and João Pedro. Not a surprise from João Pedro, if I'm honest. He is certainly on the chopping blocks for this game week, I think, for many managers who are frustrated with the amount of blanks but João Pedro has had since obviously bringing him in. I believe he's only had an assist. No goals in the last 5 game weeks from him, and he's been quiet for Brighton, which is quite a surprise considering how he impacted the obviously FPL when he came back from injury in the first 2 game weeks. And obviously Jackson, no goals scored against Chelsea, so that's him on 2 points. Now the interesting thing is Huss's bench, because he has a total of 21 if you count obviously Rodgers and Mikalenko as bench players, because I was tempted, if I had Rodgers, I would play him over João Pedro at this stage, because we've seen how bad Man City have been, and obviously we haven't seen much from João Pedro. So yeah, benching 14 points from Rodgers, who was the MVP in that game where Aston Villa won 2-1 against Man City, got the assist, scored the goal, got the clean sheet point, and also deservedly the bonus 3 points in that game. And that's a massive number of points bench right there, which is unfortunate, but not a surprise considering how Man City are playing at the moment in the season. Hasn't been up to scratch. And also Mikalenko again. We're saying about clean sheets for Everton are rolling in. Again, they've rolled in once again. Who would have thought they've held off Arsenal and Chelsea back to back? And that is back-to-back clean sheets for Mikalenko. Well, 3 in a row, if you count the Wolves game where they won 4-0 as well. So between that point, that's 24 points Mikalenko has scored in the last 3 game weeks, which is, again, not expected. They do have Man City next. I wonder if they can hold off them too away at the Etihad. It will be interesting to see what if Mikalenko starts or not in House's team. But yeah, that is massive total points there on the bench. Obviously, Fabianski didn't keep a clean sheet, and Lewis he got a yellow card and also conceded 2 goals, which leaves him on 0 points. Now, I believe at this moment in time, it is a green arrow for Huss. It's a very small one, though. I think that's thanks to Salah as well for saving the game week for Huss's team. That is a 100k green arrow. He was on 1.4 million. Now it's 1.3 with 72 game week points. If he did play Rodgers and Mikalenko, I think it would be almost 100 points there. But I think that's about 93 if he did have those. So it would have been a massive green arrow if he played those two players from the bench. But that is Huss's team wrapped up for game week 17. Let us move on to my team now and discuss obviously how well my team has gone. Honestly, guys, there is not much to really speak about my team apart from Salah. As you can see, that's the only points and returns have come from Salah this game week. 42 of my points have come from one player. But before I move on, I'll take a few of the comments in the chat. So we've got first one for Patrick. It says, hi, Sacco, Pedro out for Diaz/Jesus or any other suggestions. Won't go Fernandez or Son. And what Pedro gone really bad. Yeah, Pedro has been very disappointing, as we mentioned. Obviously, just now he's been not really great. I probably would, if I was to bring in Jesus, I would suggest waiting to see how long Saka is actually out for, because he could be back very soon. And he might lose his place once Saka returns. So I'm not sure about the Jesus move. If you can stretch to, obviously, for Pedro swap, if you could stretch to Isaac, then that would be an ideal transfer for him. And in terms of Saka, I'll probably go for, obviously you won't be going for Fernandez or Son. Both performed not the greatest this game week. I would probably go for, it's hard to say for midfielders who I'd go for to take out Saka for. It will be interesting to see who people go towards, but if I had to pick, I'll probably go for Kulusevski. I think I'll still go for a Spurs asset. I don't think it would be Son though. I think I'd either go for Kulusevski, because I feel like he's been really good for Spurs, considering they have been poor defensively. Kulusevski does find a way to score goals for them. So yeah, I'd probably still include the Spurs asset in there, cheaper for Kulusevski for Saka. Manish got 74 points now. Now when it's a free transfer, Salah will get bonus points, got 34 points. Is that captain? Yeah, well done. It looked good, obviously, from Isaac scoring the hat-trick against Ipswich, which regrettably put my rank in the mud straight away when Isaac scored that hat-trick, because I obviously don't own him in my team. But yeah, it was a massive disappointment. But well done. Obviously, that's a lot of points there for Salah and Isaac in your team combined. Manib said, Rodgers on the bench, try putting him in for Pedro, but it hit 11. That's unfortunate, Manib. Yeah, that's a massive blow. I would be very annoyed, obviously, before the deadline, not making that transfer move, or obviously substitution move to Rodgers to João Pedro. I would do the same if I was in your position. I would have benched João Pedro and played Rodgers, absolutely. But yeah, unfortunate there for you to not do that move in time. Orange Apple, should I look to move on Saka or Johnson as priority? Saka obviously a doubt for next week, but Johnson really struggled for minutes despite still getting returns. Yeah, that's 2 assists for Johnson now in a row, but I still feel like that's not enough, especially when he's not playing the minutes he was playing before. Obviously, his rotation now. And yeah, I probably would make Johnson a priority transfer out. I would want a player that's playing 90 minutes. He's getting more than an assist as well, especially. I want a player that scores goals in that midfield. And if Johnson's not playing the minutes as well, he's missing out on the opportunity to score goals and only nicking an assist in that 6-3 win. And especially last game week when he was benched against Southampton, where they won 5-0 or 5-1, or whichever it was. Yeah, for me, Johnson is a priority out. Saka, I definitely would take out because it's not really entirely sure how long he's out for in terms of his hamstring injury. I'll be very surprised if he comes back swiftly, because we've seen hamstring, whether they're serious or not, it does make the player, you have to recuperate a very decent period of time, a couple of weeks before they are fit to come back. So yeah, I would definitely make those two a priority. Roman 92 this week. Decided my sack replacement and what does Bruno do today? Yeah, I'm sure you know how bad United was, and now I'm considering going with Luis Diaz. That's the thing. When you take on a Man United asset in your team, you have to prepare yourself for every week is not going to be the same outcome. There is going to be weeks where Man United are going to be terrible, but other weeks Man United are going to be unthinkable and unrecognisable. It's just how the pattern is with Man United. They are playing good one week, and next week play terrible, and it's a vicious circle for Man United. And obviously that's the first loss for Amrin as manager. I didn't see it coming against Bournemouth. Well, I mean, last time they played against each other, it was the same result. And maybe it is not a surprise that they lost 3-0 today. Edeka, good evening, boys. 87 points. Yeah, for Salah as well. The king of this game week. Literally has saved a lot of players, especially if you have points like me in my team. Salah's single-handedly done the victory business for a lot of us. I was set so set on Bruno and Trent Anderson for -4, and now I've got to decide what goalkeeper to get if I go Luis Diaz. Who would you say? Maybe Pickford. Yeah, I think on my wildcard draft for Game Week 19, I'm going for Pickford. I think that's set in stone, because if Everton are managing to hold off Arsenal and Chelsea, then they can pretty much hold off most teams that play against them. If they can hold off two of the best attacking teams in the league at the moment, then yeah, Pickford looks good to be a goalkeeper at the price he's at as well. I would be set on picking Pickford as my main goalkeeper. Absolutely. If he's getting me clean sheets like that against teams like Arsenal and Chelsea, then yeah, that's definitely who I'll be looking to go for. But yeah, I still have faith in Trent and Bruno. I wouldn't let one bad game week go past. Obviously, Trent still got an assist, and yeah, obviously they didn't get the clean sheet, but it was a tough game. It's a London derby, but I feel like with easy fixtures coming up for Liverpool, you can see more from Trent and Alisson, even Bruno. I think for Man United here and there will have a spell of good form. It's just hard to come by at the moment consistently. Edeka, the amount of double-digit hauls from Salah is honestly insane. Yes, it is insane. It seems like every season Salah gets better and better, which, yeah, it seems to be working in terms of favours in the FPL. I'm definitely putting my captain Salah now. I didn't realise O'Neill got sacked. Yeah, he has been obviously sacked from that. I believe that was from the West Ham loss against Wolves 2 game weeks ago. He got sacked for, which wasn't a good result. I think it was a bad result for either manager for that game. It was make or break in terms of who got sacked in that one, as it was the last straw. I feel like Wolves had lost 4 matches in a row, and it wasn't going their way really. And I think they lost the confidence in the manager there. Tricky Trees, enjoying my Rodgers bench jam after Smith Rowe didn't play, plus Salah cap and Isaac for 100 points for -4. Yeah, I also took a -4 this week, but I didn't manage to get that many points. I need the Salah cap points for me without Isaac. And obviously, that Smith Rowe benching over Rodgers paid off massively as well with those 14 points. Elika, I'll be fuming if I was in a position, Jordan. Wildcard can't come soon enough. Yeah, as you can see on my team, I'm trying to keep a positive look on this season because I can undoubtedly say my season is over in terms of rank. There was no way I am getting top or above 1 million. It's all at this stage, it's all like a constellation of what rank I actually get now because I've had so much unfortunate stuff happen to my team that is, no matter what player I transfer in, he will not get me a return. So yeah, I am in a difficult position there. I'm trying to keep a positive outlook on it. Lucky 92 points after SARS and top 240k in the week after this week, looking good. Yeah, well done. Obviously, you're doing well this season. I hope you can keep it up. It's a good way to end, obviously, before Christmas on a good rank like that. Tricky Trees, worth a hit to get rid of Saka. Smith Rowe would give me a midfielder: Salah, Palmer, Bruno, and Son. I'm not sure if they're with Bruno and Son. I'm not really sure going forward if they're good alternatives to go for instead of Saka and Smith Rowe. I think I would look elsewhere if I'm honest, Tricky Trees, because Son. I mean, I couldn't see my eyes in that game, but when Son got substituted off, I'm pretty sure I saw him sitting with the Liverpool bench after that game. Unless my eyes were fooled, he was sitting with the Liverpool team. When I don't think there's a good relationship going on with Spurs at the moment in terms of the manager, even the individual players, their attitudes. Even when Maddison scored, when it was 2-1 to Liverpool, there was no celebration whatsoever from them. There's a not very good positive attitude at players in that. I think I would look differently to Son. I would rather go for Kulusevski or Maddison. I know Maddison doesn't play 90 minutes, but he seems to be scoring consistently as well as Kulusevski. And Son, I'm not sure if it's worth the money for him. I think it's better to go with like a Kulusevski or Maddison instead. In terms of Bruno, I mean, I suppose you could go there, swapping for Saka around that price bracket, but you have to expect like not much can come from Man United every week. Like this week, obviously losing 3-0 to Bournemouth. They will have a mixed patch of form, but yeah, it's either Bruno or Ahmed. If I'm honest, I wouldn't look elsewhere in terms of Man United assets at the moment. If you still want to go with that midfield choice. Sandman, I missed that big time. Sold Salah and got Haaland back in, trying to be smart. That's an interesting transfer, selling Salah. That's a big blow as well. I mean, I think you've had more unfortunate luck than I have entirety of this season. Interesting moves though, bringing Salah back in. But you never know. Later down the lines, Haaland could return back again. It may not look like it at the moment for Man City. It's a little bit disconnected, but give it time, Sandman. But I would look to bring Salah back in. Maybe hold off on Haaland at the moment. Roman Jarvis says, what are your thoughts on Maddison? I think it's class. Absolute class. I think despite obviously Spurs losing badly in that game to Liverpool, Maddison still managed to find a way to score. And he was one of the first goal scorers in that game. When he gets the opportunity, he will provide it and he will finish it off. And I think he scored 2 goals against Southampton and now he scored 1 goal against Liverpool. Not much high goal involvement in that game after playing 57 minutes, but that's just how the match went. It could have been a different scenario. Now, I know Maddison's minutes are a bit variable. He could play 50 there, 70, 10, but that's 8 goals and 5 assists for Maddison, despite his minutes being variable in each game, which can't really go past by if you're looking for a Spurs asset. I think Maddison is still decent enough as a differential. Maybe a 5th midfielder. But yeah, I think he's still worth going for. Yeah, if you're looking to bring Maddison in. Went from top 500k down to 1.2 million. Yeah, that's a big red arrow, especially with the amount of points Salah scored. A lot of people captained him this week as well, including me. So yeah, it is a surprise. It's not a surprise that the rank is obviously that low, but you can recover from that, Sam, man. You just need one good game week where a captain like Salah this week could return you big. You'll be surprised how quick that you raise the ranks just being engaged. Yeah, that's true, Anyway, it's still early days, game week 18. I just need a good captain pick to go for, but at the moment, I'm just set on Salah at the moment because if I go somewhere else differently, I'm glad I didn't go for another captain this week because that would have set me back further than what I am at the moment. So, because I was tempted to go Palmer, which it would have been really bad if I did. Obviously, he only got 3 points. So, yeah, it's just picking the right weeks when to captain someone when you know that gut feeling, you know that player's going to do well in the week. I'm curious to know when you wildcard. Are you going for 3 Liverpool? If so, what 3? I'm possibly going for 2 Liverpool. I don't think I'm going for a triple up on obviously Liverpool players, but obviously I've got Virgil van Dijk already and Salah. So I don't think I'll be going for another player for Liverpool. Now, I don't think I'll be changing who I'm going for in terms of those assets. I think I'm just sticking with the two Liverpool players there. As in terms of minutes, they're the most reliable to go for. And Sandman says, I will do Saka to Salah next week and Bones to Rodgers or Ahmed for -4. I can't stand the thought of watching Salah v Leicester after what I see today. Yeah, absolutely. That's a fair point. Bring Salah back into your team. That's a good shout, Sandman. I'm sure you'll recover from that. Obviously, if I captain him against Leicester, it's going to be a popular pick considering how well he's done this week. So, yeah, hopefully it goes well. And you'll make up for the -4 for that move, too. With the Bone and Rogers move. So I hope that works out for you. And SJ, welcome to the chat. Always nice to see you there. And Simon, thank you for the positive words. Hope you can start climbing up in the new year as well. We're not even halfway yet. Anything can happen. Yeah, absolutely. That's that positive vibes going. Keep going, guys. That's it. No matter where you are in the rank, you can still break it off really good. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Reader's last comment before I move on to my team. Pelton Patrick. I have Isaac and Jackson and Pedro in front. Aman, Palmer, Enzo, Saka, Salah in mid. And got 2 free transfers. I want to get in a third Liverpool and a third Arsenal. I mean, in terms of third Arsenal, if you already have, let's say, you have a defender like Gabriel or Saliba, or even the goalkeeper Raya, that's one. In terms of that midfield, it's a bit tough to pick who to go for now that Saka is now injured. But for forwards, temporarily, I would say Jesus. But bear in mind, I don't know how long Saka will be out for. So I don't know how many weeks you'll get if you do go for Jesus as a part of that Arsenal attack. But I think to play it safe, I'll probably go for 2 defenders. So leave Gabriel in the defense and then go for one attacker like a Gabriel Jesus. Someone that's known for a lot of minutes, but it's very hard to pick in terms of Arsenal who could be that third asset to own. But in terms of you want to get a third Liverpool as well, Diego Jota, there's Diaz too, which looked pretty good. Diaz actually got decent minutes. He came off the same time as Salah, so he could possibly be a good third Liverpool asset to go for long term. But yes, guys, let's move on, obviously, to my team so we can discuss Gameweek 18 and what the team looks like for that. So I'm going to be very quick and brief for this because I have literally have nothing really to talk about in terms of my team apart from Salah, which we've already discussed. But starting goal, who I transferred in as part of my -4 was Fabianski. They, in fact, did lose to Brighton. Well, actually, no, they didn't lose. They drew against Brighton, sorry. They just... West Ham did manage to score, but yeah, they did concede the goal. The clean sheet was wiped, and that's Fabianski on 3 points. Obviously, we discussed Liverpool and Dijk on 1 point. Obviously, he conceded 2 at least, so that was a point taken off, and only the 1 point given to him. Timber obviously also conceded 1 against Ismail Sarr scoring for Crystal Palace, which was another blow, and Wan-Bissaka conceding that goal. Obviously, that was double West Ham defense, which. It's crazy when you say it, but he was my -4, completing that -4 going for Fabianski and Wan-Bissaka, which didn't pay off, but they do have Southampton next away in the fixture, which could bring a bit more fortune. Moving on to the midfield, we've got Palmer, who blanked 3 points. Saka, obviously, came off injured. We discussed that with 1 point. Mitoma, yet another blank. Not sure what to think of Mitoma after his run of bad form, same as João Pedro, but 2 points for him. And obviously, the king of the game, Salah, with 42 points, with him captained. Up front, we've got Nicholas Jackson, Wood, and João Pedro, all on 2 points as well. So it's quite binary, my team, with 2s and 1s at this current moment in time. But on the bench, you've got Vardy, Martin. Johnson nicked an assist in that Spurs game after coming on for a couple of minutes, which I suppose would have been better having Mitoma instead, or having Johnson instead of Mitoma there. And then Fries gets 1 point, along with King with 0, as he seems to have lost his place in, obviously, starting 11. Well, that's how my week has gone, guys. The red arrow, though, is very minimal. It was huge when Isaac scored the hat-trick, but since Salah's had those 3 assists, 2 goals, and bonus 3, that red arrow is shrunken to 100k red arrow. I think at the moment that possibly will change in a couple of hours, but it's a minimalized red arrow. And I did take a -4 as well this week, which after the -4, it does leave me on 57 points. So not too bad. And Salah did save the week for me, I feel like, from total disaster. But yeah, we move on, obviously, and carry on and see what the next game week has to offer. Because I'm sure eventually, eventually there should be some good fortune, more good fortune for my team for Game Week 18. And obviously on the subject of Game Week 18, let's move it along and see what the team looks like for that week. So obviously this is after Christmas now. That this will continue, I believe, on the Thursday, the 26th of December. So we have to wait until then before football resumes. But obviously, let's go through the team and what it looks like currently. So Fabianski in goal, which looks good against Southampton away, along with Wan-Bissaka, who has also Southampton away. Completing the back three, we have Virgil van Dijk, who's got Leicester at home, which is a strong fixture, along with Timber, who's got Ipswich at home. So the back three looks very good, and the goalkeeper as well in terms of fixtures, which is a bright outlook to Game Week 18. Moving on to the midfield, we've got Palmer, Saka, and Mitoma and Salah in that midfield. Fulham, it's got Palmer. Ipswich, Saka obviously is injured. Potentially won't start that game or play it due to his hamstring injury. Mitoma has Brentford at home, and they just come off of a loss against Nottingham Forest, 3-0. So maybe that does provide some positive outlook on Mitoma getting a return. And completing that, obviously, that midfield is Salah, Leicester at home, captain. There is no discussion of captaincies this week. It is going on Salah. There's no other player I'm going to put that on at this current moment in time. Salah is the one I'll be going for. Moving on to the front threes, João Pedro's got Brentford at home to complete the double up on Brighton. Nicholas Jackson has Fulham at home, and Chris Wood has an interesting fixture against Tottenham. And we'll be intriguing to see how Chris Wood does in that fixture, considering Tottenham's defence is absolutely appalling at the moment, and it seems like any team can score against him. So Chris Wood could have a really good game if you do own him in your team. And on the bench, you've got Vardy, Marston, Johnson, Fies, and Keane. Now, obviously, pretty much my bench players have lost their places in their team, so they're all minutes risk, which is not good if for my starting 11 if any player is out injured or doesn't start for whatever reason that may be. But that is the starting 11 and bench order discussed for Game Week 18. There's obviously going to be some transfer plans as well going forward, as I need to sort out Saka, and as he's the priority for this week. Let's go back to the chat and see what you guys have to say about. So, comment from Roman. I've just seen one of those suspension trackers, and Hayes is on full yellow, so he could get suspended in one of these upcoming games. Yeah, it's very interesting that Hayes is actually on full yellows, because I felt like he hasn't really played that many games for Liverpool. Sorry, not Liverpool, Arsenal. But yeah, it's intriguing to see he's on full yellows too. That does reset by Game Week 19. For those who don't know, so yeah, that is a good point to raise. You don't want to bring in the Jesus. If he does get a fifth yellow, he does miss out on the next game after Ipswich. So yeah, one to look out for. Thanks for raising that, Roman. Patrick, I already have Gabriel Reyes, Trent and Salah, so I'm thinking of Diaz and Jesus for Saka and Pedro. Saka is likely to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, so at least to Game Week 23. Yeah, absolutely. With the hamstring injury, it's at least 4 to 6 weeks. So kind of makes sense to obviously bring Jesus for Saka, as it looks like he's the temporary replacement until they do manage to get Saka back to fit and healthy to regain his position. But yeah, that's not going to be any time soon. And even if Jesus does get suspended for one game week, I guess that is still good for the foreseeable. But yeah, interesting moves. It seems like Arsenal seem to score. Well, they scored more without Saka, so we'll have to see how that develops against Ipswich. Dan says, hello, Jordan and chat. Yeah, hello, Dan. Hope you're doing well. It seems like you've done well this week as well. 90 points all out. Got 30 points on the bench, and one of them was Cucurella. I'm averaging 10 points on the bench every week this season. Hate benching decisions. Yeah, it is an unfortunate thing about FPL. You're going to have points on the bench here and there. And it seems like for you, you've had a lot of points on the bench, which is quite unfortunate. I think Huss has had 21 points on the bench from Mikolenko and Rogers too. But I think I rather would have a bench and not have one as well at the same time, because if there's a chance a starting 11 player doesn't play any minutes, then the bench players do come in clutch in that situation. And Petra says, I can bench Jesus if he's suspending him at 19 for Enzo. So yeah, that's obviously a good point example to raise. If when you have a good bench, you can replace these players like you are, Patrick, for Enzo if Jesus is suspended, if he picks up another yellow card. So you might be all interested, obviously, to see what my transfer plans look like for Gameweek 18 in my team. So let me move on to the other slide, and I can just briefly show you what I might look to do after Christmas. Obviously, after the Christmas holidays for Boxing Day fixtures for football. So here you can see my screen. Obviously, I have 0.7 in the bank, 1 free transfer this week. So obviously, the focal point I think for this week is Saka. There's a lot of us are going to be looking to take him out due to his injuries. So who you pick is going to be interesting, because we saw Bruno not really getting much from that May night game. Will that put people off for going for him? Son, another one as well that could potentially replace Saka, but again, he looked a bit disconnected and not really there for Spurs. And yeah, it's just them two really that could replace Saka. But the player I'm looking at, which could be going under the radar a bit, because I have watched this player in a few of these games, and that is Ismail Sarr for Crystal Palace. I maybe look to bring him in for Saka. He is very cheap at 5.7 million, but I think he's been class in the last 2 game weeks. If you've watched him against Brighton and Arsenal, 17-pointer for him with 2 goals and 1 assist, obviously in that game, and then scoring the only goal against Arsenal with his 7 points as well. So he's had 2 good game weeks. I know he's been pretty quiet through most of the season, but there's suddenly a rush of form coming from Crystal Palace, and it seems to be all being directed to Ismail Sarr. In terms of fixtures, I do like Crystal Palace's fixtures for a long-term period, where they're quite average. I do like the Southampton at home one, which I think he will thrive in as well for Gameweek 19. So yeah, there is that too to look at, guys. I don't know if anyone else is looking at this player, but he's definitely one for me to consider, because I'm going to work hard anyway in 19. So I'm just going for variations of who I could go for that no one really has, just to get some upside to my team. Someone's got to get me a return somewhere. So yeah, picking a player that's just recently picked up form, like Sarr, I'm not going to hate the move going for that. But that will save me a lot of money, obviously 5.5 million. And I will have to mitigate that, obviously, later down the line when, obviously, Saka returns later in the season. But for the current moment, that's looking like the move I'm planning to make. I'm wondering what you guys think of that, obviously, that Saka replacement, if you're looking at him, or who else you're looking for to replace Saka in your team. But yeah, let's go back to the comments, obviously. Harry Davies, 93 points this game week. Well done. And Sarr says, Sarr's blanked so many times, though. Yeah, that is true. He has blanked many times through this season, but it's just the recent amount of form, and obviously the amount of goal opportunity he's had. He could have scored a hat-trick against Arsenal. He missed 2 good chances in that. And when I see a player with that much opportunity and chances in the last 2 weeks, and he did have a bit of fortune against Aston Villa in that game too, but it seems like he could be a player to look. If you're looking for a 5th midfielder for a bench option, I don't hate Ismail Sarr, as you could play him for weeks where it's an easy fixture, you think he'll get points in, and then bench him for the weeks where you don't think he'll get much in. He is that kind of player that won't get you a return every week. but can be explosive if he is on a good run of form at the moment, like he is now. So there is that to consider, even though he's blanked many times this week. I mean, Rodgers had, I think, 6 or 7 blanks before he got his 14-pointer against Man City this game week. So it's all a bit of a perspective of how you look at a player in the run of form that has and when to jump on it at the right time. Jordan, I got 6.7 million for midfielder. Who would you say is the best option? The best option around 6.7 million. Let me see who could be the one for that price. I think Bowen, if I'm honest. Around that price, I'll probably say Bowen. He's got Southampton next away. And I know he's got Liverpool Man City after that, but I think for around that price for the Gameweek 18, it would have to be Bowen for me as the best option, just because of the fixture as well. So yeah, I think both Bowen for me. So they have sort of picked up a little bit more form than previous, but yeah, I'll probably say Bowen for the next game week. And you said, I think it's Sart or Foden. I mean, Foden had a couple of chances in Man City, but I still wouldn't go there. I still wouldn't go for Man City asset, whether in defence or attack. It just seems like they've got chances to score, but it's not quite there in terms of finishing. Unless I see some more confidence, more build up from Man City, then I maybe look to go there. But yeah, I'm not looking for Foden. But yeah, Sarr definitely I'm interested in myself. If Madison 90 minutes, he'll be a no-brainer. Absolutely. I agree with this comment. Obviously, if Madison was a fully 90-minute player for Spurs, he would be in the team without a doubt, and he would be a good option to go for. Elika says, do you think it's time to sell João Pedro this week or hold? If I'm honest, that's a sell for me. I've had enough of João Pedro. Let me just show you what João Pedro has done for me, and probably for a lot of you in the team. Obviously, it might be better if I show it on the other page, actually. So let's look at João Pedro's run of form since his injury, when he's come back from injury. So let's go back to game week 10, when obviously he comes back for game week 11, scores a double point against Man City, then one against Bournemouth. And then if we look further along that line where there's 0 goals for the last 5 game weeks, he has had 1 assist in that entirety since his 2 double hauls from returning back from injury. That is a terrible run of form for a player. I mean, he's 5.9 million, so I suppose there's not really much to expect from a 5.9 million player, but the quality João Pedro showed in those first 2 games coming back from injury was outstanding, and he looked like a good option to go for, but maybe we got carried away with that. But Brighton's fixtures do sort of swing as well. They have Arsenal and Aston Villa. I mean, they got Brentford at home next, but even for that fixture, I'll probably get rid of him now. I don't have faith in João Pedro anymore. And if I'm honest, I probably will look to, if I could, bench him for that Brentford at home fixture myself. But yeah, I think he's a sell this week. You said, I think you should go for Jesus if you're chasing, mate. I've thought about go for Jesus, if I'm honest. But it's that 4 yellow cards thing that is also the issue as well. That might put me off slightly. I'll go for Jesus. But if it wasn't, then yeah, I probably would have potentially gone for him. I kind of do prefer to go for Sarr though. If I'm honest, I think if I'm chasing rate, I think Sarr is a good differential as well to go for, which I'm hoping it will deliver. And then says Brighton have been disappointed. Yeah, they have really this season. I've been quite on and off. They're really hot and cold, Brighton. Because they had a good start of the season, being unbeaten till game week 6 when they lost to Chelsea, and then they won twice, lost, won twice again, and now they've been on a run of pattern of drew, lost, draw. So yeah, and they've not had a clean sheet in any of these weeks either. So defensive options are not great. Even attacking options aren't great either. They seem to have scored less goals than what they were scoring at the start of the season. They seem to have been more proficient in their goal scoring and yeah, it's just random, the goal scores as well. It could come from anyone for Brighton. There's not really a set person or player to score, and minutes as well play a factor in that. There's so many players for Brighton could replace the starting 11 that, yeah, if it's not going away tactically, there will be a lot of changes from the manager. So yeah, I do think you should avoid Brighton assets, if I'm honest. I would include them in my wildcard draft. Michael says West Ham fixtures are becoming tough, so who do we replace Bowen with after next week? So yeah, obviously the fixtures do swing for Bowen, as I mentioned, as he's got Arsenal, Aston Villa after Southampton in the next game week. So if you're looking elsewhere for midfielder other than Bowen, you could look towards, I mean, potentially you could look towards Anthony Gordon. His fixtures are somewhat not really improved that much from obviously Bowen, but yeah, Gordon will nick you the assist or goal here and there, I think. And again, low ownership. Second option to Isaac, I think, in terms of Newcastle, I think he would be a possible option to go for in that midfield at 7.2 million. If you're looking to replace Bowen next week, because with that fixture in mind, obviously Gordon does have Man United away in game week 19, so Man United ain't really been the best, so I wouldn't really consider that a tough fixture for them. But yeah, there's either him or potentially Murphy, like Edeka, as mentioned in the chat. He's been quite good as well in Newcastle. But I think they are comfortable at home in the way. As we did see last season, they were more comfortable at playing at home rather than playing away at another team. But at the moment, it seems to be working for Newcastle, especially with Isaac up front playing for them. He is delivering really well for them. So yeah, it seems to be good relationship working around obviously Isaac, Murphy, and Gordon. Asim, is it time to get rid of Wolves' assets? I mean, obviously Cunha has played this week, scored a goal, but I think with the FA charges looming around him, he soon will be suspended. So yeah, I think I would look to get rid of obviously Cunha from the team. I'm not sure whether it's worth going for another Wolves asset because obviously Ain't Nuri's back from suspension, but he wasn't even giving us much points before his suspension. He gave us 1 assist, but even that was not really a reward from him because Wolves haven't kept many clean sheets, and nor has Ain't Nuri provided much attack. The only one I would probably consider is Strand Larson, but even that is a wild shot. So yeah, I probably won't go for Wolves assets either, especially if you're looking to work on Gameweek 19. No Wolves asset will be mentioned. Michael says Saka replacements. I mean, the obvious ones are Bruno, Son. If you're looking around that price bracket to change to them two, but this week they haven't really given us much impressions to go for them. For me, it's either Ismaili Sarr, Gordon, Bowen if you're looking for this week against Southampton. Well, obviously game week 18. Kulusevski, even Maddison to replace Saka with. Any of those 5, I think, is a good replacement for him. Because obviously you would want to bring Saka back in after he's recovered from his hamstring injury. But those 5 I would recommend as replacements. I'll probably rank potentially Bowen as top because he does have Southampton replacement for Saka. Abshek, I already have Henderson and Munoz. Should I bring in Sarr or go for Luis Diaz or Rogers? I mean, suppose it depends on the long-term view because I do like Luis Diaz for Liverpool. He did score 2 goals tonight against Spurs and he looked really good. Obviously, thanks to Salah providing those 2 assists for Luis Diaz as well. Rogers, I don't think I would go for him after his 14-point. I think that's kind of been the boat missed because I would have rather had him for that moment where he scored that goal and got the assist rather than obviously now bring them in after the double haul against Man City. So I would go for Luis Diaz. I think that's more reliable pick between Sarr and Rogers. If you're looking for more points long term from Liverpool, I'm sure he's going to play quite a few minutes more than obviously Luis Diaz and other Liverpool players. So yeah, I think Luis Diaz for me to bring in. Yusuf, I could go to JP to Jesus in one move, or move Saka to Sarr/Fernandez. Yeah, I mean Sarr or Fernandez. For me, it's got to be Sarr for Crystal Palace, but that's because of the situation. I mean, if you're chasing rank and looking for a differential like a Sarr, then yeah, I would probably go to him. Even Bruno Fernandez, but you have to, like I mentioned with Man United, you're not going to get a consistency of form from them. So you're taking somewhat of a risk or a gamble going for Bruno Fernandez. You have to sort of hope sometimes that Bruno does get a penalty, because we've seen in recent game weeks where he's scored from a penalty, but that's only really the return that he's mostly had from game weeks. Like, he's only scored mostly from penalties rather than open play. And that is due to obviously Man United not being up to scratch with their tactically with the players and who gels well with who. So it is a bit of an experiment, I think, for Amrin to know what works best in that starting 11. But I think Sarr is definitely one, and obviously to Jesus too. Temporarily, it could be a good move. Just bear in mind he's on 4 yellow cards, but if you've got bench replacements, then that's ideal to go for Jesus. Michael says, thoughts on Bruno and Solanke in for Saka and JP. Again, I think they're good transfer moves. I think Bruno and Solanke for Saka and JP are decent moves. Obviously, I've spoken about Bruno and my thoughts on him. Solanke as well. He seems to have gained a bit more consistency for Spurs. It seems to be working more in his favour in terms of returns, rather than what we've seen in previous game weeks, not really getting involved, but he was definitely involved in this London derby this evening. Obviously, the goal and the assist from him. And he's been picking up more returns here and there for Spurs, considering how many goals they've scored recently. So, yeah, a 6 and 5 for Solanke, I think, is still a great option to go for. If you're looking for a Spurs asset, he is one that I positively recommend that you bring into the team. Yusuf, who is the priority sell between Cunha and Saka? Well, depending on how long Cunha's suspension is, which is still waiting from the FA, it's unsure. And Saka is expected to be out for a couple of weeks. I'd probably say the priority would be, I mean, I suppose both of them are top priority, but if I had to make one a major priority, it probably will be Saka. Because I think Saka will be the most transferred out player. We still have to wait to see what the consequences of Cunha as well. So Saka's definitely not going to start against Ipswich at home. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. He's going to have a few price drops, so you want to not miss out on that and lose money for the ownership of having Saka in your team. So I'll probably sell Saka first over Cunha. Down the man, I could do Saka and JP, Martinelli, Luis Diaz, and Jackson. I mean, yeah, Martinelli. I don't hate the move. It could work well, especially with Saka out. You'll see a different change in the way Arsenal play, and maybe more involvement from Martinelli, and obviously Jesus. Well, in that regard for Arsenal, maybe you see more of the midfielders get more of the returns now. It's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I think for the fixture or Ipswich at home, Martinelli could be a good one to bring in for. Obviously, slash Luis Diaz and Jackson as well. I would possibly leave Jackson out if you have Palmer ready. I think now, even though Chelsea fixtures are still good, I think I would take an early punt on Luis Diaz as a third Liverpool option, because Leicester at home is definitely a fixture you'd want to bring him in for. Comparatively, I think Luis Diaz is the best option to bring in, I think, for Saka as well. And Dan says, I've got 60.5 million for one mid and one forward for free. Who would you get? In terms of one mid that I would get for that price, it would be someone cheaper. So I wouldn't look to go for an expensive midfielder, because there ain't really great options. Like we mentioned, Son and Bruno Fernandes haven't been that great. I think I would take a great option to go for Kulusevski. I think Kulusevski is a great option as to replace one midfielder for the team. That's 3 goals now consistently from Kulusevski now. and he's looked great despite Spurs being really poor in games. Kulusevski has looked great, and he's playing pretty much 90 minutes most weeks too. And he does have that upcoming fixture against Wolves at home for Gameweek 19, which I think he'll excel in. Another differential, 4.5% ownership at 6.3, so he's not that expensive, and that does leave you with 10.8 million as well to spend on your forward for free. In terms of your forward option, I'd probably pick, in terms of forward, who would I go for the team? It would have to be Isaac, if I'm honest, at the moment. It just seems like a hard to look past Isaac of his current form at them. Unless he drops drastically, I think as Isaac is the one to go for. You'll be able to afford him 8.9 million, which you'll still have plenty of money left afterwards as well, if you do make those moves. So I'll probably recommend Kulusevski and Isaac. Amir, I'm considering two options. One, Cunha to Isaac and Saka to Kulusevski. Two, Cunha to Jesus and Saka to Bruno. Which one would you prefer? I would prefer the first option, Cunha to Isaac, especially after his hat-trick this week. It's hard to look past him. And obviously he's scored in previous game weeks too, and seems to be the main man now that obviously Wilson's re-injured. Isaac will definitely keep his place until the foreseeable, until Wilson's back, and that won't be till February, and that's if he's match fit by then. So, and also Saka to Kulusevski, I mentioned him as well. I think that's a great move. Despite Spurs being really poor, Kulusevski seems to find a way to score and have a good game week in terms of FPL. Great option to go for, but I won't go for Cunha to Jesus and Saka. I wouldn't go for Saka to Bruno. I definitely wouldn't go that. I'm not trustworthy as a Man United fan to go for Bruno yet, but I'd go for your first option, Amir. Roman Java says, with Saka out, who's now taking Arsenal pens? If I had to guess, it's either Odegaard or Havertz that's going to take the penalties, because they're the only two that he's given the ball to when he hasn't taken a penalty. So it's hard to know who the penalty taker will be. It could even be Jesus, because he used to take the penalties for Man City, but yeah, it's hard to tell. We won't know really until we see if Arsenal, when they get a penalty, who really takes it. But it could be, and then also it could be Rice. So yeah, it could be Jesus, Rice, Odegaard, Havertz. It could be either one of those four. It's hard to really know who takes the penalties now for in place for Saka. Brandon, punch Jesus. I mean, a punt for Jesus or for Cunha and Bruno for Saka. Yeah, absolutely. Jesus for Cunha seems to be a popular move people are looking to go for, because Saka will be out for a few weeks, so I don't hate the move. Just be wary. Jesus is on 4 yellows, so you might get one less suspension. Just keep that in mind. But as long as you have a bench cover, you should be fine with that move. Bruno for Saka, I'm 50-50 with. I still think there's other good options to go for that have more consistency, because at the moment, Man United are not consistent. They're almost just as bad as Spurs are. I feel like, in my opinion, they're almost near each other in the table. Only 2 spots between them. But yeah, I wouldn't go for Bruno, if I'm honest. I'll rather go for Kulusevski, a Sarr, or someone like who's kept consistency form, always just brought up quite a bit of form as well. So yeah, not Bruno for me. I'll probably pick someone else. But if you prefer to go Bruno, you have to expect that there's not going to be every game week good form for Man United. Like you saw from this week, they lost 3-0 to Bournemouth, and nothing came of Bruno. But he is on penalties, so that could be some upside there to go for him. You said maybe Odegaard will play more advanced and is all on the set piece, and that Saka is out. Yeah, that's a good point, because we have seen Odegaard in the past be playing more forward when obviously Kai Havertz wasn't there. It did mean obviously Odegaard played more advanced, and currently on all the set pieces now that Saka is out. So yeah, that could work in the favour. I feel like there will be more variancy in terms of Arsenal attack and who will score goals and whatnot, like we did see a couple of seasons ago, where we saw Martinelli, Trossard. Trying to think now. Yeah, Trossard, Martinelli, Saka, and etc. Rowan says you have to pick one to own until Saka is back. Who would you go for between Bruno Maddison and Luis Diaz? It'd probably be Luis Diaz for me, because in the current stage that Liverpool are in at the moment, top of the table, and they've got Leicester at home next, I think it's ideal to pick Luis Diaz for that fixture. Between the rest of them, I think, yeah, in consistency, it seems like Luis Diaz is the one for me to go for. As a third Liverpool asset, I think he is the one to complete that. So yeah, I'll probably pick him to replace Saka. And Danama says most likely Odegaard. Yeah, I think penalty taker for Arsenal will most likely be him if there is one. But yeah, we have to wait and see until Arsenal have a penalty. And Mark says, do we know how long Saka is out for? No, we don't know how long Saka is out for. But if we look back at the comments, there was one mention about potentially how many weeks he could be out for a very minor hamstring injury. Just trying to find it now. Someone's mentioned it. But it will be at least a couple of weeks for him to recover. It won't be like a 1 or 2 back in kind of thing, because hamstring injuries are a sensitive issue, for especially a player like Saka, who's played a lot of minutes, not just in the Premier League, but a lot of other competitions as well. He's played so many minutes. I think it was inevitably going to happen that Saka was going to be injured, but yeah, I can't find the comment, Michael. But he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, so it is possibly a good time to take out Saka for the foreseeable until he's back in that Arsenal squad, because it will be a few game weeks until he returns. And from Brandon, who do you think is the third best striker? The 3 best strikers right now. Well, first one would be Isaac. Up there, definitely. In terms of the other 2, it's a bit more hard to say. Because obviously I would say Wood, not Wood, but I would say Cunha. Right? Obviously he's going to be suspended very soon. It'd be not worth saying that. There's Isaac. To be honest, not really many sprung to mind. I mean, could I say Duran as the second best? Because obviously he's had 3 goals in the last 3 game weeks. He's played more minutes than Watkins has in the last 2. And he's another player that's on quite a bit of form. 7 goals for him, surprisingly, this season, for those who don't know. But at least the rank 3 for Duran, I think, if he can sustain minutes for the team. And in terms of another player, if I had to pick a forward, it probably has to be Jackson, I think, as the second best for Chelsea. If they can keep scoring goals like they are at the moment, I think Jackson can be one of the best free strikers of this season so far. I mean, he's had a couple of blanks recently in weeks, but his goal record for this season is pretty good. 9 goals and 4 assists. So, yeah, I would label him second to Nicholas Jackson. Obviously, the Isaac being the top one. The third one, I'm not sure. I'll probably still say Duran if he keeps this up for Aston Villa. But, yeah, right now it's Isaac and Nicholas Jackson top ones for me. Yusuf says, I think if we're going with a new player, now we have to consider fixture congestion and whether the rotation is in play. High minutes player is better. Yeah, it's so hard to pick now because it seems like rotations become a very big factor due to this new schedule as well. And obviously, they can allow 5 substitutions from the bench. So, yeah, finding the players that play the right minutes is very difficult. But I do agree. High minutes player is better, especially with the fixture congestion now in the holidays, followed by Christmas and Boxing Day. Abstracts, Solanke and Diaz or Trent and Maddison. For me, it's possibly going to be Solanke and Diaz. Diaz nicks here for me, I think, and he showed that lot this evening. scoring the 2 goals. Very good goals as well for Liverpool. And he has Leicester at home next. Solanke, again, I still feel like he's just a tuning to Spurs still, as he's quite relatively new from his transfer from Bournemouth to there. So, yeah, I'll probably pick Solanke and Diaz for the foreseeable. But I think that is it, guys. We have streamed for just over an hour now and discussed a lot, obviously, about the transfers and who we're looking to buy and who we're looking to get rid of, obviously, for Game Week 18. But yeah, I think it's safe to say we can leave Game Week 17 behind. It's been a very interesting week. I mean, it ended really well with obviously Salah scoring massive points for those who captained him, and obviously that saved my game week from absolute disaster. So I think that's one good highlight to bring out of this obviously game week. But thank you all of you for watching. You've been great in the chat from your sponsors. Always appreciate the support and your comments too. And also make sure you subscribe, guys. Turn on notifications so you know when obviously we stream. And obviously because of the schedule, it's going to be hard to know when we're going to stream next. Because obviously Christmas, followed by Christmas Day. Obviously Boxing Day is when the deadline is. So we possibly will film after Christmas Day, obviously on the deadline for Boxing Day instead. So we might just take a break for the current moment and then stream the deadline stream on Boxing Day. So you guys won't see us until after Christmas. So hopefully you have a good Christmas holidays, whatever you have planned as well, in terms of your family and whatnot. And hopefully you have a prosperous New Year too as well. But thanks everyone for watching, and the contributions to the channel is always appreciated from every one of you. But we will wrap it here, guys. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we will see you after the Christmas holidays on Boxing Day for the deadline stream for Game Week 18. So take care, enjoy, and see you very soon.